Hi, welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're going to be hatching some evil schemes with Craig Olson. And Craig is a rare book dealer in Maine. And it was funny as I was opening up the talk with him, I was saying how it was kind of felt like I should be hearing some masterpiece theater music and be in a, wood paneled library preparing for this episode. And it was really kind of neat because Craig's got a really cool business that serves a very niche market. And we talked about the opportunities that he has in the way he communicates and with his group of 1,900 people that he sends out a weekly email to. And so we talked a lot about target markets. We talked about the opportunity in ramping up the communication that he has with the 1,900 people. And we talked a couple of concepts that we've used very successfully with email, using a super signature in the email that he sends out, and giving people an inside look into what it's like to actually be a rare and antique book dealer. So he's got a pretty neat business. I'm excited to let you hear inside how we hatch some evil schemes for him today. Craig Olson.
Hello.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like we should be playing some masterpiece theater music, and I've got my coffee and I'm sitting in my reading room, which is all true.
Yeah, with your velvet smoking jacket, correct?
Exactly. So there we go. I'm a little disappointed that you don't have a British accent, though, to be honest. That was my whole picture of this.
Well, I try. I am lucky enough to live on a little island off the coast of Maine, but British accent don't have that.
Awesome. Well, tell me about Craig Olson and about your business.
Well, it's a fascinating business. I mean, I've been doing this for about 12 years, selling books, really selling higher-end rare books for probably the last 6 years, but this is what I want to call my third career. Started out in an odd way with a degree in criminal justice of all things. Was an investigator. I guess it all comes back to research. Then stumbled into the world of history museums and went to graduate school for history museums and became a museum director, mostly in the Midwest where I grew up, and then kind of made a U-turn around 2001 and ended up in Maine and have built up a rare book business because I guess it comes down to I like information, I like learning about things, but
yeah, I can see the difference. I mean, the criminal justice and the it's fact-finding is really what it is, right? You're looking for clues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's research, and that's what's so much fun.
How long have you been doing the antique book business?
I really since 2004, and then the really
okay, so it's pretty mature.
Yeah, so good 12 years, and then the higher end rare books probably the last 6 or 7 years.
Okay, and so what kind of process? How does it work right now? Like, what would you, if you were narrating how the business works in terms of your before unit, your during unit, your after unit kind of thing, how would you describe how it works right now?
Right now, the before unit for me, it's interesting. We're in a small, we live in a small community. We have a large summer population, folks from New York, Boston, Washington, D.C. So what's happened is that I've kind of become their go-to person for rare books, gifts, and things like that. So right now, the before is really kind of getting the information out there to that community. I also have an email list. It's not huge. People who have bought from me online and all of that I push this information out to.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the people that you have right now, do you have a lot of sort of regular clients that will continue to build their collections with you, come back again and again?
Right. I have a couple, but it's somewhat sporadic. I have a few people that I've worked with over the years building different collections, but it's interesting, and I don't know, in the world of collecting, people's tastes can change. So they can be all over collecting books on, Nathaniel Hawthorne or maritime subjects or something like that. They get to a point, they kind of complete that collection, and sometimes they'll sell the collection or they'll just move on.
I gotcha.
What's interesting that I find is that the book collectors are an aging population, as in any population, but we don't seem to be replacing them with many new or young book collectors, and young means anybody from about 30 to 50 in this business. So what I'm seeing, quite frankly, are some of my better clients dropping off for various reasons, and we're not replacing with new, younger clients. And I think a lot of that has to do with not just electronic books, but people's attention spans aren't what they used to be, I don't think, and they're looking at lots of different things. And what I kind of want to do is get myself positioned in such a way that they begin to think about rare books or creating a legacy for their family or heirlooms for their children, but they necessarily don't have the time to sit down and do it, and I can help them with that.
Wow. Well, I'm fascinated by this whole business because it's very it's new to me, but I love the thought of seeing how it parallels other businesses. So when I look at this, I think about the parallels to it. Like, where does antique and rare book collections fit, like in the world of, say, compared to art or compared to coins or compared to other collectibles?
That's a good question. I think it kind of fits. It probably would fit, between coins and art, in that it's something that people, I tend to see. I don't see people being as obsessed about their collections if they're art collectors. I mean, they're very interested in their art. They know they're artists and things like that. But I think with books, people can get pretty obsessive about, I sold some material to a person once of Mark Twain, one of his first stories that was published in a magazine in the 1850s, and they bought it because they were a completist, and that meant that they collect every single thing that Mark Twain ever published. It can be a bit obsessive. I find with my clients is that they have an interest sparked in a certain area, and they begin to pursue it, and sometimes they'll go down other avenues as they're going there. But as far as, collecting and how it compares, it probably compares more closely with antiques, furniture and decorative arts than it does with art. I think it kind of falls probably between antiques and art in that area.
I gotcha. And do you have a sense of what the average client will spend on their book collection? I'm curious about how the economics of the business works for you.
I've had clients. I had one client who was, just trying to slowly build a collection of items relating to polar exploration, both the South Pole and North Pole. And, he was averaging out, $1,500, $2,500 per month. The thing that's somewhat the hard part about the business is that nobody seems to be consistent. Now, I had somebody where I could sell a $100 book on my website today, and tomorrow somebody could order one for $3,000. You just know. And so one of the reasons that I wanted to speak with you is to kind of figure out if what ways there might be to even that out and make it a more of a recurring income every month, or over a quarter or something like that. So it's up in the air. I could have somebody call me up tomorrow and say, "Oh, I found this book on your website. It's $6,000. Can you ship it to me in London?" So
right. Yeah, you never know. It's interesting. I have a friend who owns a pen and paper store in Toronto, and it's in a very high rent area, and you would never think that they could make a lot of money selling, pens and paper and diaries and that kind of thing. But, he said what really drives that business is about once or twice a month, somebody will come in and buy 4 or 6 Aurora pens or some similar, $3,000 to $5,000 or more pen to commemorate a big contract signing or a merger or something like that. So it's kind of the the retail business is not what drives it. It's the big item type of thing that drives it.
Right, and that's what I will have here. I have somebody who is looking for something for not necessarily a high school graduation, but maybe a law school graduation, or someone getting married, or a lot of my clients who are purchasing these books, they have everything they need.
Yes, of course.
These are not necessities for them. So what they want is kind of more of a unique item that's going to stand out amongst all the other things that are given, and something that will last over time. And so it's interesting. And if I have a unique ability, it seems to be my way to kind of get into somebody's head and pick the right book for
them.
For themselves.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just from knowing how to read people and knowing books and knowing current events or history and all of those.
Yeah. So let me look at some of the assets that you have here. How many clients would you have that have purchased books from you?
Oh gosh, probably a couple thousand, I would expect, and that's everything from somebody who's purchased a $6,000 to $10,000 book to somebody who's purchased something for $25 online. So,
sure, perfect. And how many of those would you have their contact information that you could communicate
right now,
with them?
as far as say email addresses and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I've got probably, and I've got them broken out. My high-end clients, I probably have about 375 of those, and my general overall clients probably 1,000.
Okay, and those are all people who've already bought books from you, what we would call your after unit. And
correct.
how much of your business comes from your after unit, from people who purchase again and again?
Probably. Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would say probably 50%.
Okay.
I'd say because I do have some recurring clients, and they're not predictable, but oftentimes I will have sold them something else, and all of a sudden something will pop up and they'll grab it.
I got you. Okay. And so a metric that I would be very interested in tracking and kind of being aware of here is what we call your return on relationship. And that number, every business is different in the way that we calculate that number, because some businesses are transactional, some are, there's no delay necessary for somebody to be a return client of yours. They could buy a book this week and they could buy one next week and forever. Unlike, say, somebody buying a house. And it's going to be maybe 5-7 years before they do that again. So you've got to, whenever they felt like it, they could buy additional books from you. So that's an advantage. And so what I would look at is, first of all, calculating, kind of getting an awareness of what that number is for you. So if you say that you've got 2,000 people in your after unit, but you've got 1,375 of them or 1,500 of them that you could communicate with, it would be very valuable to see over the last 12 months how many of the people who are on your in your family there, kind of thing. You're the incumbent sort of book dealer, and how many of them actually purchased additional books with you over the last 12 months. And so you'd get a number that would be a number of people relative to the number of the list. So if you had 150 of the 1,500 people bought another book from you this year, that would be 10% of the people would be that return on relationship. But the other number would also then be the monetary value of that, so you can see the the value of your after unit. If you had to guess, it sounds like that's not maybe a number that you consciously track, although it's easy to, you could discover what it is.
Yeah, I could tease it out. It wouldn't be a simple 2 or 3 clicks of a mouse, but I'm sure I can tease it out.
Yeah, exactly, especially for an investigator like you.
There you go.
That's really what this is, and that's the way I look at it. I mean, I'm kind of an investigator in that way too, right? Like looking for the clues here. And I suspect that this is a big opportunity for you in your after unit. How often do you communicate with your after unit?
At this point, I usually have an email that goes out every Friday.
Okay.
Every Friday morning, and it generally is offering something within the collection with a little bit of, some piece of my inventory with an explanation, and keep me at the front of their mind when they're thinking about books. I mean, the sell-through rate on those aren't huge, but every once in a while, a larger item will go. But it keeps people in mind, and I will have people come back and say 2 months later, "Oh, did you sell that Winston Churchill set? Because I'm interested in it if you still have it." And
right.
sell at that point.
Yes. I love it. And do you also have people sell their books to you? Are you a buyer as well?
I do buy, and I also take things on consignment. If I don't have the cash flow at the time to purchase a collection or purchase books outright, I do a consignment with clients. So I get fabulous things that I necessarily don't have to pay for until I sell it, and that's nice. And one of the things that's been beneficial for the business is that with the location of where we are, this large summer community, people have libraries that they've accumulated or that they've inherited, or in some instances, when they bought their summer house, it came furnished with a library.
Right.
And they either don't care, they don't know, they're moving on, and so I'll have opportunities to buy books in that aspect as well.
And is this? It seems to me like that you're in kind of a hot spot for it. The Northeast seems like that would be where most of the antique books would reside. Is that fair to say?
That would be fair. Much greater than in the Midwest where I grew up, but I mean, there are some very big collectors in Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, areas like that, St. Louis. But yeah, there's a very heavy concentration here, and the thing about what I find with the books here is that they are. I'm walking into multi-generational libraries, things that their grandfather had, and it worked out. So it's not necessarily somebody sat down and created a great collection and then moved on. These are things that have simply kind of accumulated for people over the years. And oftentimes they really don't know what they have. And so I've offered this service where I go in and do assessments for them and kind of tell them what they have so they can make better choices.
Yeah. And so that's the service that you were writing me about, is doing the assessment for them to, as a start to helping them understand what they've got and what their options are. Do you, would that be something where you would help them sell it, or?
It is, and I've done that. I've done a little more than, I think it was a little bit more, almost half a dozen, a little bit more than that, where I've gone in, I do an assessment of the collection. And an assessment is different from an appraisal. An appraisal is something where you're doing it for an estate or you're doing it for insurance purposes, and what a willing buyer would pay to a seller for a lot or for a book. What I go in and do is I go in and review the entire library that they have, and and library sometimes sounds like a kind of a highfalutin word, but it's just their collection of books that they have in their house.
Right.
And I'll go through it, and I can do probably about 750 books in a day doing a review, and I've seen so many tens of thousands of books in my life that I can just go through a shelf and go, yep. And then I'll pull the ones that I feel that are significant, do additional research on them. So for me, for a day on site, it takes me about 2 days at my desk to generate a report, pull my notes together, and then also come up with an inventory for the client. And what I'm bringing forward to them then is a report saying, this is the type of library you have. These are some things that you should be looking about as far as care and preservation. These are some highly significant items in this collection that you should probably think a little bit about. And then I also give them an entire inventory in the Excel spreadsheet, giving the title, the name, and all of this, and the retail value at the time that I did it. And that's the retail value. So if you had to go out and replace that copy of T. Lawrence's Seven Pillars of Wisdom, this is what you would pay. It's
I gotcha.
What would you get in an estate or how you'd pay taxes on it, but what you would pay if you need to replace it. Because I have done appraisals where people have come back and I've done the appraisal and they said, well, gosh, if I'd known it was worth that much, I would have given it to my grandson because he's interested in ships and instead of now having to pay a tax on it. So they have looked at that, and quite frankly, on a lot of instances, people don't really, it's not that they don't care, but they're not interested in the books that are high value, and some points they have actually taken them to auction or sold them just because, why not have somebody else enjoy them?
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that, would be a really interesting opportunity for you to, in your Friday emails or as part of it, is my thought was doing something like the antique roadshow type of situation where people could send in, video or question, how people could say, you're curious about this book, and you could do sort of, as it might be an interesting thing to tell, to select a couple of the more interesting books that people have and do a sort of the story of them or your assessment of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because I have
almost like a podcast type of situation. I can imagine. I think it would probably be suited for like a video type of podcast.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And do you have a nice setting? I imagine with the shelves. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah.
Do you know? So when Gary was doing Wine Library TV,
yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not. I think that your personality and approach to the show would be very different, but the mechanics of it would be very similar.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty easy to do once you set up a camera. Because I could just remember seeing him doing that with his Jets. Clock.
That's it. Exactly. That was the whole thing. But I imagine you, like with your bookshelf behind. I mean, it's so. It sounds when you say like a rare and antique book dealer. I have this. It sets a tone of wood paneled libraries and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine that if you have a shop on an island in Maine that you probably have somewhere a nice wall or a nice setting that would be perfect for that.
I do. I have what we call my wall of bling. So it's all nice leather bounds. Not necessarily expensive, but they are pretty.
Yeah. And so, I think that might be a really interesting approach there to not only create interesting content, but to perhaps draw out people who are curious about their collection, but not maybe committed enough to get the whole, like having an assessment sounds like a big commitment. It sounds like there's a lot of work in that, and there's a lot of I'm not sure because I don't know what the value of some of these books are, and I wouldn't want to have you come out and do this and then find out that there's virtually no value in these books. You know what I mean? I think
we usually have a conversation. Oftentimes folks will send me photographs, or if it's somewhat nearby, I'll go do an initial, just look through. And I've turned things down. I mean, I have told people, you really don't need, not to denigrate what you have, but you really don't have the level that would need something like this done. I could certainly help you find the highs and the lows and go through that. And I've done a little bit of that with people when I call it assessment light, where I actually go in with them and I pretty much go through their collection and say, yep, nope. And then I've helped them put things in boxes and say, well, this goes to Goodwill and this could go to your local library and this is something you should think about to give to your family, or if you ever want to sell it, you might talk to a dealer. And we call that assessment light. You don't get an inventory, but I help you make decisions that people just get locked up and can't make because they don't. Out of ignorance. Just don't know.
And so that might be, I think a couple of things that might happen from that would be that somebody might start to kind of dip their toe in the water that way by sending in to you a picture or description of one of the books in their collection that they suspect might be the crown jewel of the collection. I imagine that would be kind of the thing, I think, right? People might have, of all of their books, they might think or suspect that this is the one that's the valuable one. Am I right in that?
You're right. And it's usually not the case. It's usually another one that's lurking nearby.
Right. Exactly. Very interesting, right? Like the one that maybe looks the oldest and first edition or whatever, but then, next shelf over, here's the one.
Exactly, Tamerlane. I mean, I had that situation occur with probably the most expensive book so far that I've sold, and it was bound in with a scholarly journal from 1776. And it was the first treatise on how to treat scurvy that Captain Cook had written about, and then a man had written a 42-page pamphlet on the treatment of scurvy.
Was his method to put a lime in your beer?
That pretty much, and lots of lime, and he, and it was bound into the scholarly journal because this organization called the Royal Society, the Royal Society of London, which publishes the philosophical transactions and still do. They were the leading scientific journal. They published it, and Cook had published a letter in this journal that same year, and then this man Pringle followed up, wrote a treatise on it, 42 pages, and there it was in the back. Things weren't adding up with counting the pages because we do what you call collating, checking the pages, making sure the book's complete. And I'm like, well, this is odd, this extra thing. So I looked at it and looked up, and we sold it for $20,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I think it probably sold ultimately within a few months to somebody for $30,000 to $40,000. So
wow,
that's great. Just you never know what you're going to find, and you never know what's going to walk in the door.
Right.
And I think if you translate that through in some type of a video or vlog or something like that.
Yes, I think that there's the thing where you kind of presence that there's the opportunity for somebody to start the conversation, to start it, and yet you're doing something. It's creating something that is valuable as entertainment or as interesting content for people who are book lovers. So that might be a neat opportunity to start the conversation with that. I meant to ask about the 1,300 or so people with contact information do you have in your before unit a list of prospects who have not bought anything yet, or
yes, a few there. Those would be names and addresses I've picked up. I do exhibit at rare book fairs, and so somebody might be interested in getting on our mailing list, and I probably have a couple hundred people who have not purchased things from me or just in the database.
Okay, great. And so when you look at this, would you say where does the other, if you estimated that maybe 50% of your business comes from your after unit, where does the other 50% come from? How do people find you? And do you have any sort of predictable engine that
Not really. They're finding me, through the internet. I mean, mostly we sell online through, all the rare book sites and Amazon. So, they're coming in that way. And oftentimes I'll capture somebody who bought a $25 book will later on buy a $500 book.
Right, exactly.
So they'll kind of, once they're in the door, they're aware, and then they're then getting my regular emails. Once they've bought from me online, they start getting my regular emails. And so, probably 25% come back, I would think, as kind of a cold call type of client, and kind of in a reverse, in that they've given me their information, and then eventually they do buy something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so a lot of these things is you're listing each of your books individually, kind of thing.
Right.
You're consciously going through we
have probably about 5,500 books online. That run the gamut from a $10 book to something for $50,000. So
I gotcha. Okay.
We're very much a general rare bookseller. I have some specialty areas that I know a lot about, but the thing that I enjoy about this business is that with collectors and with certain collections that come in, I can become an expert in an area for a short period of time, enough to be dangerous, and enough to know that niche of the rare book market, and then oftentimes we'll move on to something else.
Yeah, that's great that you brought that up, because I was going to ask about selecting, different target markets within the before unit kind of thing. What would be sort of the categories that would be, good to break people into? Like you had mentioned, kind of marine books, or
subject matter.
Or is subject matter kind of the niche, or is it is it antiquity kind of the age of them? Is it historical books?
There's a niche. I mean, I kind of look in two ways, like a subject niche and customer niche. I mean, the customers tend to be, you have kind of your active high-end collectors who are very committed to what they're doing and very knowledgeable. And quite frankly, I learn more from them than they learn from me. So that's one area where it's almost an autopilot type of situation, where they're highly attuned to their subject matter, and I just keep my eyes open, because I have a network of over 1,000 dealers, both here in the U.S. and abroad. So things come across my desk, across my screen every day, and so I kind of in the back of my mind go, oh, so-and-so might be interested in this.
Yes.
The next level would be probably those folks who are high net worth individuals who are buying that one book every once in a while, and I kind of know their interests, so if something comes up, I'll let them know. The other area that I haven't cracked as well, the whole realm of academic libraries and rare book collections, where you're dealing with universities, large institutions, large art museums, and professional librarians, and they aren't buying as actively as a lot of them used to in the 70s and 80s. But that still can be a fairly good business, but it's something of a hard nut to crack, because you have to kind of be more out, see and be seen type of thing within fairs and stuff like that. Then in subject areas, I would say that we do a little bit of everything here. We're good with, I shouldn't say we, it's only me. Good with architecture and design. We also have a large collection of the history of physics from a client, and I also have a fairly sizable collection of books relating to gardening and landscape architecture, and we've got some stuff on photography as well. So it's kind of all across the board, and what I would like to do is to have, just with my business, both with the assessment, and then the other thing that I'm thinking about was trying to get people into collecting rare books by doing it more almost like on a subscription basis.
Yes.
A little bit more focus, because we are a general bookseller, but it's hard to keep it all in the air when at one point you're doing something with 20th century fiction, and then somebody's interested in the early history of physics, and then you're over there doing something with photography. You could do that, but you sell a book here and there. I'd rather kind of drill down into having some very reliable clients and some reliable cash flow that comes out of kind of being their guy on the street and elsewhere.
So now, when you're saying, so this would be perhaps as an advisor in a way of curating somebody's collection as a investment or as a patron kind of thing. What would be is there an investment case for rare books?
I think it is in one sense, but I don't think you can ever collect solely to make money off of it because you'll always get burned. You have to collect something that you have great interest in, that you're passionate about, and usually you'll do just fine. I haven't seen any really big drops in any of the major things that I've sold to people. What I'd like to do with what I'm thinking about, which I've been doing the assessments, and I'd like to fine-tune those. The other area that I'm really kind of interested in developing a business model is within almost like I want to call it a Book of the Month Club, but it's a rare books, and you're on kind of a plan where you pay so much per month. And first you start off with an initiation fee that gets everything set. I meet with you. We come up. We catalog your books as you buy them. You get a quarterly report and all of that, and that you begin to build a collection of things that interest you. It could be boats, it could be Africa, it could be whatever, but it would allow me as the bookseller to kind of drill into that subject area for you, because what I'm finding, and my target market for that are people who are in this, we spoke before, 30s to 50s, underrepresented in my client base right now. They're busy professionals. Usually oftentimes they come from inherited wealth, or they're extremely successful in what they do. They're very well educated, most of them. They're probably raising a family, and they simply don't have the time. They love the books, but they've got so many things going on. They maybe don't have the time to peruse all these auction catalogs, or to look at the listings online, or go to all the book fairs. What I'm hoping to become is their kind of trusted advisor, which I do for some people already, and say, okay, this is the areas that you want to collect in. These are some of the titles, but okay, every month, $2,500, $5,000, whatever you want to invest. I'm your man, and I'm on the ground finding these things for you, and developing relationships with dealers, and then we help you build this collection.
Yeah, and is that something that people have approached you about? Is that a desire that people have, or
I've done two. For people. One was a collection, as I'd spoken of before, of polar exploration, and the other was a collection on just on New York City. Everything from architecture, design to early documents. This person they live in New York, and they just wanted to build this collection on New York, and we did it for a couple of years, and so in the back of my mind, I've always been thinking about that, but in such a way that it would be for me, at least for our business, it would be a steady source of cash flow and predictability, but also we'd be active collecting and drilling down in certain subject areas.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So my thoughts kind of go to when you were saying New York. It might be, there might be some interest in. You had said physics and maybe psychology. Might be some. I was just thinking about psychiatrists, or about, if you're thinking about high net worth or high earned income people, that there might be an interest. I just look for things where you can create some breadth to it as well, right? Rather than finding one individual and then, finding a one collection for them one at a time. Is there a way to, kind of be a curator of these certain categories and reach out to people who might have a specific interest in those,
Right. So that's my question with you and your knowledge of marketing, is how to find those audiences. Because the people that I have, they've been getting my information, the people that are in my database, and I'm going to get this set up and do a kind of a info sheet and all of that. But my question is, where could I find these people beyond the lists that I have? And is it a Google AdWords thing? I mean, just
Well, certainly, I think that have you presented this idea to the 1,300 people that you communicate? How many people do you send your newsletter to?
About 1,900. I think there's about 1,900 on the list.
So you got about 1,900 people. Have you kind of proposed this idea to them?
I haven't. That's why I'm in the planning stages, because I've done the assessments, and that's something I want to tweak. The subscription, this rare book club thing, is something that I'm just developing out, and just want to kind of go through the steps in a very measured manner and make sure that kind of things are the best that they can be before I start dropping things. And I have some test lists. I have one list that's just my folks who are here in the summers. I have another list of people who have purchased from me. So I was thinking about doing a test drop on one of them and then seeing what the return rate is, and then a test drop on the other a week later, see what the return rate is, and see if I can speak from there. But I'm not at the point of having the material ready yet, but I have lots of notes.
That's great. And so do you mail people as well?
Physical mail?
Yeah.
I do, not on a regular basis, but I have more things that are very specific to the individual, more handwritten pieces and things like that. I haven't done any real direct mailing. I have addresses, so it could be something that I could do.
It's really interesting. Like I could imagine something with your the people who you have are probably difficult people to buy Christmas gifts for.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
And and so it might be an interesting approach. I did this with with another business of sending a direct mail piece to the home. It's actually kind of perfect timing for this right now to test this, but to send a letter addressed to the person in charge of making sure that Craig Olson has the best Christmas ever. And it's not to be opened by Craig Olson, right, with the highlighted thing on it. And explaining to that person how that John is a client of yours. He loves to collect these books, and they may probably know that, and that you've got a great selection or so, saying something like that, saying that, you would be happy to talk to them to help find the perfect book that would be a great addition to their collection for Christmas.
Yeah. And I have one client. I've got a couple clients who call me, every year. I have it on my tasks on my computer, and it pops up to call so-and-so about the gift for their goddaughter. And, consistent sale every year for Christmas. It could be $300. It could be $1,000. You never know.
Right. That might be something that would be, could you see yourself testing something like that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be something you could test to a small group and see what and see what could come from that. But that could be an interesting thing. The other thing so I'm just thinking out loud now of ways that we could really maximize the relationship with the 1,900 people that you have right now.
Right.
And so can you describe the weekly email to me? What format and what goes out and what they would get?
Sure. So it goes out, every morning except today, every Friday morning at 9 a.m. it drops, and it could be it could be something I saw on television that made me think of something, but it always leads back to a book that's at the end of the email that I'm trying to sell. And it could be anything from last week. It was E.E. Cummings' birthday, and I have a signed copy of Enormous Room. And so I'm like, it's E.E. Cummings Day. So we did, and that's a quick down and dirty one that I can do. But it's a way to highlight new material that comes in. So it's basically kind of an explanation. It's almost written in some ways, I hate to say it, like a J. Peterman ad.
Right. I was just so funny. I was just going to ask you that about J. Peterman.
It's very breezy. It's very it's bam, bam. It's not scholarly. It's not, if you'll notice this with the foredge of this, and it's nothing like that. It's like, I was driving down the street and I saw this, and wow, isn't that cool? And so it just runs through that, and then there's always kind of a hook at the end that just says, if you'd like to see more, click on, if you'd like to order this book, or if you'd like to see the signed inscription by E. Cummings, just click on the image, and you can buy it by replying to this email, going to the website, or giving me a call.
Okay.
And I've had fairly good response with those. And the thing is, I'm something of a Nazi about having to go out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. And every once in a while I miss, and I happen to miss today. But people are like, "Oh, I missed your email," or "Oh, I was glad you're still doing them."
Yeah, right.
And the nice thing, I use Constant Contact, so I can, and oftentimes I'll line them up if I'm going to be on the road or something like that, and I'll already have them ready. And they'll go, they go off at 9 on a Friday. So I'll do this one. We'll go out later today.
So, I think that the opportunity there is pretty big. Then, is it a HTML email, or is it a text email, or?
No, it's an HTML. So there's a photograph of the book. It's common. It looks the same. The border and everything looks the same every week. The content.
Yeah.
And then there's photographs of the book down below the hot link out to my website.
So it kind of looks like one article from the J. Peterman catalog kind of thing.
Well, and I've also done that every Friday, and then on Tuesdays, although I haven't been doing them lately, on Tuesdays I would do an email that was more or less informational about books and the book business, or I was going to go to this, or I was doing a book fair, but I tried to get another form of communication that was information-based as opposed to trying to sell something.
Okay.
Try to sell something.
Okay. And so I think there's the opportunity then, is this group that you're kind of in communication with them, and you've got a pattern of communicating with them, that there's now, I think, the opportunity to add just a couple of things to that email. And one of the things that we use very successfully is something I call the super signature. And by that, I mean at the end of the email, between where you've signed off and where all the unsubscribe information is to have an opportunity that presents people with some action items, like one of the things that we do with the realtors is when they're sending information to people who are looking for a home, that we have them send an email and then say, here's what to do next. And we offer what I call cookies, where, rather than just say, hey, if you have any questions or if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to give me a call. We say very specific things like, here's what to do next. Join us for a daily tour of homes. We do tours at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock, or come to a homebuyer workshop. We do homebuyer workshops on the first and third Thursdays of the month at the library, or get a free home loan report where we monitor hundreds of different loan programs, and we find the best low down payment loans, low interest loans, lowest total cost loans, and put all our findings together in the report. That offering those three things each time we send out an email addresses what is going to be the trigger that somebody is going to take the next step. So if you look at the 1,900 people that get this, something that might be a opportunity there is that they may have a specific book that they're looking for. And if you were to sort of formalize, and by formalize I mean name the process of that somebody could specifically search for or have you do a search for a specific book. That might be, even like the book find service or some, not even naming it a service, but something that if they knew that they could just enter in the specific title of the book that they're interested in, that would be starting a dialogue with you. But if you could make it seem like it's sort of an automated search in a way, right? That you've got this database that you have access to book sources that the general public does not have access to, which is true. And so that might be a good way that anytime people get that email, that they know that if they're looking for a specific book, there's this easy way to potentially find it.
Sure. You consistently have the same 2 or 3 items at the tag at the end of each email, so it's just
yeah. So I look at it, and the way that we do it is that I reverse engineer the psychology of it here, of what's actually going to happen. Is what do we really want to have happen? Okay, so if one of the things that we do with the real estate agents is they'll send out an offer send out a postcard offering the free September 2016 or October 2016 report on Winter Haven lakefront house prices. And that will get people to raise their hand. Now, every month we'll send out the information about what's been going on in the lakefront homes, along with a Get Top Dollar newsletter with tips on preparing your house and getting it ready to sell for top dollar. And then every month, the cover letter that goes with it says, whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. We have a pinpoint price analysis, we have a room-by-room review, and we have our silent market. So each of those is addressing the things that are going to trigger somebody to take the next step. So if somebody gets a report about the lakefront house prices, they may want to know, well, how much is my house worth specifically? Because this is going to give them an idea of what all of the lakefront houses are doing. But they may want to know, how much is my house worth? Or they maybe want to know, what should I do to fix it up? Or what kind of repairs or things do I need to do, and what can I leave alone? Or they may be in a situation where they're not ready to put it on the market yet, but if you had a buyer, they might sell it. So those are kind of the psychology. Those are the conversations that are going on in the mind of those people. And so instead of saying to them, hey, if there's anything I can do for you or any way I can help you, please feel free to reach out to me. And we package it in a way that makes it seem like this is normal. Like, here, you can take advantage of this. We've got a pinpoint price analysis. We'll show you exactly what your house would sell for compared to other houses on the market today. We've got a room-by-room review booklet where we can go from the curb to the closets, show you exactly what to do and not do to get your house ready to get top dollar. And we've got a silent market. We may be able to sell your house in as little as 24 hours without even putting it on the market. So all 3 of those things, no matter what one they ask for, all lead to the next step, which is that ultimately we want to be in a conversation with somebody at their house about potentially helping them sell their house, right? So if they want a pinpoint price analysis, perfect. Let me pop over. I'll take a look and we can see what your house is, and then I'll prepare the report for you. Or I'd like the room-by-room review. Perfect. Let me pop out. I'll bring the room-by-room review booklet. We can go through and point out the things that you could and shouldn't do to get your house ready to sell. Or the silent market, if they say, well, maybe if you had a buyer, well, perfect. Let me pop out. I'll take a look, See how they all lead to the same thing?
Right.
And what you want is you want to be in conversation on the phone with somebody who is either looking to sell a book or buy a book or multiple books or a collection of books.
So I was just jotting that down quick. So, you could have you could have something along the lines of, are you searching for a book?
Yes. So that's where that would be my
book
question.
Worth?
Yeah.
What's my
what
book
is
worth?
my book
or
worth?
How can I collect rare books on a budget?
Mm-hmm. That could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of these things, if you were to offer people, things that you could send them, if you did a book on, how to get started collecting rare and antique books,
Mm-hmm.
that would be something, that you've got that, or if you've got these are book people. So they understand more than anybody the value of books and would appreciate the offer of a book as a way to raise their hand, to start that process.
I have a lot of, I've done a lot of talks on that, so it's not anything to sit down and just, expand upon it.
Oh, and there you go. And that would be the perfect kind of thing if you're able to talk about things, that's exactly what the 90-minute book is about. That whole process of just imagining that you've got 1 hour to do a presentation to, an audience of people who are your exact target audience, And what would you say? And then you could package that into a book. But that super signature, you're on the right track there with, saying the things. And sometimes, it is crazy, but it can be as simple as just saying, here's what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Having a numbered list of one. It's like we did this. I was been working with a client in Toronto that has an app for people searching for homes. It's got the number one app in Canada for home searches, and so we just added to the bottom of a very simple email, here's what to do next. 1, find out how much your house is worth. Click here. 2, join us for a daily tour of homes, 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Click here. And that, just adding that, 150 people a month now are jumping out from a list that people were not responding to,
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, and I think that could be a big opportunity for your list there, but there might also be an opportunity for within these 1900 to find out if there are people who are looking to build a collection, and I think that might be a sort of a 9-word email type of approach to this, where, or a PS is always a good, a PS is, imagine if you talked about if you did a class or a teleconference or a webinar or a hangout or something like that, where if you said, and I just did this yesterday, actually. So, one of the things, I have my email mastery class. And so I sent out an email to said, 9-word email, brainstorm call. And I said, hi, Craig, I'm getting together with some people on Thursday to brainstorm some 9-word emails and subject lines. Would you like to join us?
I got that email.
Oh, you got that email. Okay, well, there
email.
You go. There you go. So you're familiar with that. So if you said, the same kind of thing. If you sent to the 1900 and in the PS, when you send out today's email, let's do it today. Let's do it just to see. Send out the email and say in the PS, I'm getting together with some people, let's say next week, on the phone to talk about some about collecting or building a collection over in 2017 or something like that. What would be, how would you articulate that for what you're actually looking for, and just ask them that? Would you like to join us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good.
First thing is we got to get you off of constant contact and get you into gogoclients.com so we can use some intelligent links and landing pages for you.
Yeah. Well, and I'm always looking at all those things. So
yes.
You never know. And I have, as far as the video and stuff, I have daughters who are very tech savvy. So.
Yeah.
And I'm tech savvy, but they're much better on that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think for you, it's all about the email, because those, your people are readers for sure.
And I'll tell you, my 9-word email that I did for my for kind of positioning the assessment process, it worked well. I mean, I got 4 or 5 jobs out of that, and a couple from people I'd never heard of before, which is unusual. Yes. Most of my business is word of mouth, people who know people that I worked with. So, that out of the blue client is unusual, and sometimes they're the most interesting one.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very interesting.
It's an interesting business.
It really is.
And it's interesting because, you people from all areas. But it tends to be people of a higher net value, net worth, and they're very intelligent and know their business. They've been very successful in their business, and they're passionate about what they're collecting. So they're very informed.
Yeah.
But occasionally I will sell. I have sold books by the foot as well to interior decorators. So sometimes those things come through as well.
That's so funny. That's great. Yeah, we need some. They need them look old and important.
That's right. Well, my wall of bling. That's kind of perfect for interior decorators.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I think that's the most actionable thing. I think it's really about your maximizing the 1900 right now. There's so much more that could be done in the before unit, but would take more time to really figure out those opportunities. But your immediate opportunity is the those 1900, and I think that if the ideas that might really have some legs are this idea of the kind of antiques roadshow meets wine library type of thing, where you're serving a couple of purposes. First of all, you're going to be encouraging people to get their book. If they've got a book that is part of a collection that they think might have some value, that would encourage them as an easy way to kind of get your opinion here. They wouldn't feel comfortable just kind of reaching out to you to tell me what this book is worth. But when you offer it as an opportunity, there's I think that's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think, and it also, it puts a face to the emails if they haven't met me, and it just creates a little bit stronger relationship.
Yeah, I think that's it, because it is definitely
to part with a couple $1,000s once in a while.
Right. That this guy, you're kind of like, and I think there's that great opportunity where you could. I think the people who collect these books would be kind of fascinated by the day-to-day life that you live in terms of as a book dealer. Mm-hmm. And you can make anything fascinating. There was I remember there was a blog, and still is actually, from a tailor in England who's a Savile Row tailor who's got a blog called EnglishCut.com.
Oh, wow. Let's look that up.
And this guy he was blogging and just educating people about the process of these bespoke suits. Mm-hmm. And so I think that if you make it interesting and fascinating and educational, I think that's going to be a cool thing, becoming the personality of it, you know?
Right, and I've done a little bit of that with the emails that I send on Fridays and Tuesdays. In that, there's some recurring characters, and I refer to my family and where we live. And I remember that a couple of weeks ago I told you about X, and now we're going to do Y. And and I've been able, it's been the things that you have to have some degree of confidentiality with clients. You can certainly show books that are clients. You don't want to show them if they don't want to be in the picture. But, I've had the opportunity where I've actually gone from this island to fly to another island on a small plane to look at a person's library. So those types of things, people like that, to read about things like that. It's kind of exotic.
Fascinating. And they'd love to see some pictures of stuff like that, or you talk about
a day in the life of an island rare book dealer.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fabulous. I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, I've used the emails in that way, and I have a Tumblr page, but it's, not as active as it could be.
Right. Well, Craig, it's been fascinating having a conversation with you. I've really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate the insight, and, I'm listening to the podcast, and I'm scribbling things down on a regular basis. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk through the process with me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, when you listen back, you'll probably be able to have more clarity on your notes, and we get it transcribed so you can check the transcript and everything.
Perfect.
Awesome. So let me tell you, I can't let you end without telling people where to go to look at your website and get any rare books that they might be interested in.
That's right. We're at www.artisanbooksandbindery.com.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Thanks again. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And there we have it. Another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can download the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book at morecheeselesswhiskers.com. If you'd like to get a book out into the world in the simplest, easiest, fastest way possible, go to 90minutebook.com and download a copy of the 90-minute book, and we can help you get your book out into the world. That's it for this time. Talk to you next time.